What if the greatest moment of your life is not when someone finally loves you, understands you, or approves of you, but the moment you realize you no longer need their permission to become who you were meant to be? The day you stop allowing others to control your emotions, your choices, and your sense of worth is the day an unstoppable transformation begins. Because the moment you reclaim your power, every chain of manipulation breaks, every fear loses its grip, and you step into a version of yourself that no one can intimidate, diminish, or control ever again. There comes a day in every human life when the chains that once held the spirit begin to break. It is not a loud day filled with celebration. It is often quiet, almost invisible to the world, but within you a revolution is taking place. It is the day you stop measuring your value by another person's approval and begin measuring it by the greatness that already lives within your soul. For too long you may have stood before others asking for permission to feel worthy. You may have waited for praise before believing in your abilities and searched for acceptance before taking a step toward your dreams. In doing so, you handed the keys of your happiness to people who never had the power to define you. The moment you decide to choose yourself, a remarkable transformation begins. You discover that your confidence does not come from applause, and your peace does not come from being understood by everyone around you. They come from an unshakable belief that you are here for a purpose, and that purpose is too valuable to be placed in the hands of another person. When you stop seeking approval, you stop living in fear. You no longer fear rejection because you understand that rejection is often the world's way of directing you toward something greater. You no longer fear criticism because you realize that the opinions of others cannot diminish the treasures hidden within your mind and heart. Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of awakening. It is the decision to honor your dreams, protect your peace, and guard your self-respect as if they were precious jewels. It is the courage to walk away from situations that shrink your spirit and move toward opportunities that allow you to grow. The day you choose yourself is the day your energy changes. You begin speaking differently, thinking differently, and carrying yourself with a new sense of purpose. You stop begging for a seat at tables where you are not appreciated and start building your own table. You stop chasing people who overlook your worth and begin chasing the vision that has been calling your name. Life rewards those who believe in their own value. Every great achievement begins with a person who finally decides that their dreams matter and that their voice deserves to be heard. The world cannot stop someone who has learned to approve of themselves because such a person has discovered the greatest source of power that exists. Remember this truth as you continue your journey. The approval you have been searching for has been within you all along. The strength, the wisdom, and the courage you need are already present. The day you stopped seeking their approval and started choosing yourself was not the end of something valuable. It was the beginning of your freedom and the first step toward becoming the person you were always meant to be. There is a powerful moment in every person's journey when they discover that not every battle is won with words. Some victories are achieved through silence, not the silence of fear or weakness, but the silence that comes from self-mastery. It is the kind of silence that refuses to argue with deception, refuses to defend itself against false accusations, and refuses to surrender its peace to those who thrive on conflict. There are people who attempt to control others by provoking emotions. They seek reactions because reactions give them power. They create confusion, spread doubt, and stir emotional storms because they believe that if they can disturb your mind, they can direct your life. Yet the day you learn to remain calm in the middle of their chaos is the day their influence begins to disappear. Silence is often misunderstood. Many believe that strength lies in speaking louder, proving a point, or winning every argument. True strength is different. It is the ability to remain centered when someone tries to pull you into unnecessary conflict. It is the discipline to protect your energy instead of wasting it on battles that produce nothing of value. When your silence becomes stronger than their manipulation, something extraordinary happens within you. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing approval from those who cannot appreciate your worth. You realize that your peace is more valuable than any argument you could ever win. Every great achievement in life requires the conservation of mental energy. Your dreams need your focus. Your ambitions need your confidence. Your future needs your attention. The person who constantly reacts to every insult and every attempt at manipulation eventually becomes exhausted. But the person who masters silence preserves their strength and directs it toward building a greater life. There is immense power in becoming unshakable. Imagine a mountain standing firm while storms rage around it. The winds may blow and the rain may fall, yet the mountain remains unmoved. Such is the person who has learned the art of powerful silence. They no longer allow the behavior of others to dictate their emotions or determine their direction. This silence is not surrender. It is wisdom. It is the understanding that some people are not seeking truth, they are seeking control. The greatest answer to manipulation is not endless explanation, but a peaceful refusal to participate in the game. As you grow, you will discover that your silence speaks loudly. It declares that your self-respect is not available for negotiation. It announces that your mind is too valuable to be occupied by needless conflict. It reveals that your spirit has risen above the need to prove itself to anyone. The day your silence becomes stronger than their manipulation is the day you step into a higher level of personal power. You become the guardian of your peace, the master of your emotions, and the architect of your destiny. And from that moment forward, no person can control the direction of your life because you have learned the priceless secret of conserving your energy for the dreams that truly deserve it. There comes a defining moment in every person's life when the fog begins to lift and a powerful truth rises within the heart. It is the moment you realize that your worth has never been in the hands of another person. No criticism can reduce it, no rejection can destroy it, and no manipulation can take it away. Your value is an inner treasure placed within you long before anyone had an opinion about your life. For many years, people often allow others to become judges of their importance. They seek validation, crave acceptance, and permit the words and actions of others to determine how they feel about themselves. This is a dangerous habit because the person who gives another individual control over their self-worth also gives them control over their happiness. The awakening begins when you understand that you were not created to live as a prisoner of another person's approval. You were born with gifts, talents, and possibilities that cannot be measured by someone's temporary opinion. There is a greatness within you that remains untouched by criticism and undiminished by neglect. The person who attempts to control you often seeks to convince you that you are not enough without them. They want you to doubt your strength and question your abilities because a person who knows their worth becomes impossible to dominate. Confidence is freedom, and freedom cannot be controlled. The moment you realize your worth is beyond their control, your entire perspective changes. You stop begging to be appreciated by those who cannot see your value. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places where you are merely tolerated. You stop sacrificing your peace to keep others comfortable. Instead, you begin to walk differently. Your head rises higher because you understand that your value is not determined by the number of people who applaud you. It is determined by the character you build, the dreams you pursue, and the faith you place in your own potential. A seed does not ask permission to become a tree. It grows because growth is its nature. In the same way, your purpose does not depend on someone's approval. You are designed to expand, to learn, to achieve, and to become more than you were yesterday. The opinions of others may create temporary shadows, but they cannot stop the light that already exists within you. Once you understand your worth, fear begins to lose its grip. You are no longer afraid of walking away from unhealthy situations because you know that losing people is never as painful as losing yourself. You are no longer terrified of being misunderstood because your confidence comes from within and not from the changing attitudes of others. This realization is one of life's greatest victories. It is the moment you reclaim ownership of your identity and refuse to place your destiny in another person's hands. You become the guardian of your self-respect and the architect of your future. When you truly understand that your worth is beyond their control, you unlock a new level of personal power. You no longer chase validation because you have discovered something far more valuable. You have discovered that the greatest source of confidence comes from knowing that your value is permanent, your potential is limitless, and your destiny belongs entirely to you. There comes a moment in life when a person finally awakens to a simple but life-changing truth. The power that others seem to have over them was never truly owned by those people. It was power that had been given away through fear, doubt, and the constant desire to be accepted. The day you decide to reclaim that power is the day your entire world begins to change. There are individuals who thrive by controlling the emotions, decisions, and confidence of others. They seek influence because it gives them a sense of importance. They depend on your uncertainty, your need for approval, and your willingness to question your own worth. But the foundation of their control is fragile because it exists only as long as you continue to surrender your inner strength. Taking back your power begins with a decision. It is the decision to trust your own judgment again. It is the courage to honor your feelings and believe in your value without requiring anyone else's permission. It is the moment you stop asking whether you are enough and start realizing that you have always been enough. As you reclaim your power, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes clearer. You no longer feel compelled to explain every choice you make. You no longer allow guilt to force you into situations that diminish your peace. You begin setting boundaries, and boundaries are the language of self-respect. The person who once seemed to have control over you begins to lose their grip because they can no longer pull the strings that once moved your emotions. They cannot manipulate a person who trusts themselves. They cannot dominate a person who has discovered their own worth. They cannot intimidate someone who has made peace with standing alone if necessary. The greatest source of power in life is not physical strength or material possessions. It is the ability to govern your own mind. The individual who masters their thoughts and emotions becomes impossible to control because their confidence comes from within. Their decisions are guided by purpose rather than fear. Imagine an eagle that has spent years believing it was created to walk with smaller birds. One day it spreads its wings and realizes it was born to soar above the clouds. In that moment, it no longer seeks permission to fly. It simply embraces its nature. In the same way, when you reclaim your power, you stop living beneath your potential and begin rising toward the person you were meant to become. Taking back your power also means taking responsibility for your future. You stop waiting for others to change. You stop expecting someone else to rescue you. You understand that your happiness, your peace, and your success are your own sacred responsibilities. This transformation often surprises the people who once controlled you. They may try harder to regain influence because they sense the change within you. But every act of self-respect, every boundary you establish, and every decision you make in honor of your own well-being weakens their hold. The day you take back your power is the day you become the master of your destiny. You discover that freedom begins in the mind and that no person can rule over a spirit that has awakened to its own strength. From that moment forward, you walk with greater confidence because you know that the power you were searching for has been inside you all along, and now it belongs completely to you. There is a moment in every great life when a silent decision changes everything. It is the moment a person refuses to be controlled by fear, by criticism, by manipulation, or by the expectations of others. That decision may seem small in the beginning, but it sets into motion a transformation so powerful that it changes the course of an entire destiny. Many people spend years living according to someone else's opinions. They shape their choices to avoid rejection, silence their dreams to please others, and carry burdens that were never meant to be theirs. In doing so, they slowly surrender the greatest gift they possess, the freedom to direct their own lives. The day you refuse to be controlled is the day you reclaim that freedom. Something awakens inside you. A new confidence begins to grow, not because the world has changed, but because your relationship with yourself has changed. You no longer seek permission to pursue your purpose. You no longer wait for others to believe in your dreams before believing in them yourself. Transformation always begins in the mind. The thoughts you accept become the reality you create. The moment you reject the belief that others hold authority over your worth, your potential expands. Your mind becomes fertile ground for courage, determination, and self-respect. When you refuse to be controlled, fear begins to lose its power. You stop being afraid of disappointing people because you understand that sacrificing your purpose to gain approval is one of life's greatest tragedies. You stop fearing criticism because you realize that every person who has ever achieved greatness has faced misunderstanding and opposition. This transformation is unstoppable because it is fueled by self-discovery. You begin recognizing strengths that had been hidden beneath years of doubt. You discover talents that had been buried under fear. You realize that the person you were meant to become has been waiting patiently for you to claim your own power. A river does not stop flowing because rocks stand in its path. It simply finds another way forward. In the same manner, the person who refuses to be controlled becomes unstoppable because obstacles no longer define their direction. Challenges become lessons. Rejection becomes redirection. Pain becomes fuel for growth. As this transformation unfolds, your standards rise. You no longer tolerate relationships that diminish your spirit. You no longer participate in situations that demand you betray yourself. You become more protective of your peace, your dreams, and your time because you understand their value. People who once benefited from your uncertainty may not understand this change. They may resist it because your strength reminds them that they can no longer influence your decisions. Yet their resistance only confirms that your transformation is real. A person who has awakened to their own worth cannot be returned to the prison of self-doubt. The most remarkable part of this journey is that it does not merely change your circumstances, it changes your identity.